Well, hello everyone, it's New. Welcome back. It's been a while. You might be guessing I've more or less stopped playing in the current league, in which case you would be right. I've had my eyes set on the upcoming league, which is evidently pretty far in the distance. As we've learned, the end of March is when the next league is coming out. We don't have any information on it, but I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it's going to be a return to form on the ever so fast, faster is better, zoom, thinking Legion Dunes, that sort of thing. Definitely not going to be exactly like this past league was. So that's what I'm thinking in terms of a core concept for the upcoming League 3.24 when it comes out. And today's video is going to feature the topsy-turviness of taking a concept and then seeing it through fruition, trying to flesh it out with an actual build. This is not a build guide. This is not a build showcase per se either. So if you're looking for a super concise video where I keep the point nice, quick, and sweet for you, this is not it. You know, that video will be featured at a later date. This is more a pull up the chair, sit back, relax. We're in the downturn of the season. You don't have any other PoE content to look and listen to anyway. And I'll tell you the story of what I've been up to in the past week, because it is an interesting one. How an unsuspected major setback or two in the build evolution process has turned into a truly epic league starter in the making, if I don't say so myself. So there is a path of building linked in the description below that is more or less fully fleshed out. It is configured for mapping, and it does actually feature a magic find higher investment variant. But what I'm going to focus on today is the early game, first week of the league for sure. And that is going to feature an Atlas strategy, in this case, of just Alk and Go, Legion, spawning Legion randomly, Expedition randomly, red altars, trying to drop maps, with very little investment, no wandering path, even running Stream of Consciousness. So this is a really nice, super low investment, big money maker in the beginning if you have a nice, fast build. And there's a lot of builds that would be serviceable for this, but I wanted to make a really cool build for you today. So I'm going to run a few Legion Dunes. All these map mods are very easy for the build I'm running. But let's take a look at the build first. You're going to notice right off the bat, couple inspired learnings. Definitely the most expensive uniques in the build, maybe Dying Sun. No other uniques that are very expensive to speak of. A lot of weird stuff going on up here at the top though. All the way to Leith Shade. Why in the world would I be getting this keystone? Well, that's because I want to feature reverse chill, and this is the first sort of red line concept that I want to feature in the build. I've never done a reverse chill build before. It's sometimes called self chill. What that does is instead of having 30% up to 30% less action speed, or reduced action speed, I get 30% increased action speed combining with Tailwind, which it makes basically worth a Tailwind and a half on top of Gathering Winds that I already get, which is going to make me move and attack way faster than normal, and in fact would synergize terrifically with other forms of more multipliers to speed, attack speed, movement speed, such as Berserk. So that's going to have a terrific synergy, having a whole bunch of increased action speed with Berserk, and then of course, other forms of increased movement speed and attack speed, such as haste or just points on the passive tree, or just increased attack speed crafted or whatever. So it's going to be a wicked fast moving and attacking bow build. I like bow build. It's going to be, fairly low budget, at least as far as builds that I make. Current setup that I have here is some decent gear, I will say. Some of the crafted gear a little bit more expensive. I would think this is some kind of failed Rog bow. There is a little bit of meta crafting like on this quiver, but you could cut some corners. It's definitely a kind of 20, maybe 30 divine budget as it currently stands with all the gear that I'm running. Only 20 gems, no 21-20 gems, no awakening gems, no cluster jewels, no headhunter, no mage blood. A lot of the the really nice stuff is missing. So that is the sort of snapshot I have in mind for the build. So let's start with a map, and I can kind of get you started on where we're at, seeing the concept play itself out in the very beginning stages. Now, first off, we're going to see a major setback. Not really a setback. We're going to identify a major problem right off the bat. And that is, while I am getting reverse chill, there it is, 30%. You can see I'm suddenly moving faster. I'm not getting any rage. Not getting any rage, am I? So I am opening up a Legion. Now you can't stun Legion mobs in stasis anyway, but in order to get rage, I need to stun enemies. I'm doing enough damage to stun enemies. There's no doubt about it, which you're going to see here in a little bit. Doing plenty of damage to stun enemies, but I can't actually stun enemies because I've talked about this before. The programming of the game is set up so that if you do cold damage and you're eligible to chill and or freeze, you are no longer eligible to stun on any given attack. So the stuns can't happen. That is just sort of a quirky programming on the way of GGG. Call it the spaghetti code. Just one more aspect of spaghetti code. Occasionally I do see the rage happen anyway, but it's very rare, extremely unreliable. I don't actually know what the parameters are for the rage to kick in this case. But there you go. You can kind of see, you know, the very beginning problem that we have right off the bat. Can't get the rage. So one way to get around this, and this is what I did earlier this league that I knew would work for sure. I'm going to remove a few points here that don't make a huge difference. And I'm going to give myself Secrets of Suffering. Now this would obviously add a little bit more expense to the build. That's okay. But what this does is it makes it so I no longer ignite, chill, freeze, or shock, which will enable me to stun even with cold damage. And you get to see that right here. You're going to see it's going to be completely night and day. I'm going to move way faster than I did in the first map a second ago. There we go. We got all the rage. We got the reverse chill. Sometimes it's not, well, it depends on if Berserk is up or not. Sometimes it doesn't actually give me 30%. Kind of a little bit awkward, but anyway, a lot of times it'll be 30%. Just gotta wait. Sometimes I think it's Headhunter, but there it is, 30%, even with Berserk up. It's kind of weird. I don't know why sometimes not 30%. But anyway, here's a Legion. Even when the Legion pops, I'm going to get some rage, which you'll see there it is. Just shoots right up the top. Berserk, full-blown 30% reverse chill with Berserk. I mean, that is just a dream. That is just... feels good, man. Really nice. But you're going to find that even this had another major problem. And the major problem is, if I cannot chill, then I don't get some of the huge benefits that Call of the Void offers me, such as enemies chilled by your hits can be shattered as though frozen. That completely removes the threat of corpse explosion, which you know is a pretty big threat in this game. Enemies chilled by your hits lessen their damage dealt by half of the chill effect. Okay, that's basically 15% less damage taken by enemies. That's almost full-blown sap in terms of value. And I no longer get that either. So that's really sad. I want to have those things if possible. So how do I get around that? It just feels really bad to, you know, have all this incredible effects with chill and then to not chill enemies with Secrets of Suffering. So I think no bueno. I don't want that. We're going to remove Secrets of Suffering. We're not going to be going Gale Sight, as cool as that would be, and as League Start viable as something like Gale Sight might be, although it has issues with not being able to roll regular modifiers on your helmet, especially with reduced cost of attacks. Let's see, that's going to go here. So we're going to have to come up with a different plan, okay? So there's the first couple maps. You got to see the complete dichotomy of like very, very bad rage regen and then very, very, very good rage regen. So keep that in mind, the difference that you saw there. So I had a brilliant idea. I had an absolutely brilliant idea. Why not turn off elemental ailments on your primary skill and just let the secondary skill 6-link do the stunning for you? Elemental focus support. Well. Now I do lose training. You know, I would have different colors on the gem probably. Elemental focus support says supported skills deal more elemental damage. A very strong support gem in and of its own right. Supported skills cannot inflict elemental ailments. This should solve all my problems. If I can't inflict chill or freeze, I can still inflict chill and freeze with frenzy and this form of lightning arrow and still get all the benefits of Call of the Void. Maybe I would shock less, but at least if I'm running lightning arrow, I will still shock really hard. Hopefully. And I've Ice Shot as a potential backup there. Anyway, we'll see. Let's see how this plays out. And this is where I have my, this is a big eureka moment for me. It took me a while to figure out this workaround here. So I had very high hopes that this would work out. But you just saw the last map that I ran. Clearing this much of the last map, I was just swimming in rage. You saw it in the last map, right? So what's going on? Why am I not swimming in rage? Well, I found out after the fact that, again, the funky spaghetti code programming, this skill gem does not work in the way I want it to work. The programming still reads incapable of stunning, as if I am capable of chilling and freezing, which I'm not, because it's literally removed from the support gem. Doesn't matter, doesn't work. I had very high hopes that this would work, and I don't know if you can catch it, but you'll still see that I am, inflicting some elemental ailments. There, I mean, you can see that guy was shocked and chilled even still. You can see Herald of Ice is going off like crazy. Herald of Ice, a terrific synergy with this. So if Herald of Ice is going off, that means I am chilling at any rate. Didn't work, though. So that was definitely the lowest point in my journey of trying to figure out how to make this build work. So I had to come up with a completely new plan. I was honestly on my ropes and thinking I was just going to revert back to Secrets of Suffering because there was just no other way to make this work. Then I realized there are other ways to remove cold damage from a build that would otherwise do cold damage, such as this gem. Elemental Hit, another very out of style skill gem that nobody uses anymore because it is just categorically inferior to Lightning Arrow. Not by a whole lot, by the way, but by a little bit. What about this? If I just did, especially both of them, let's just remove Lightning Arrow altogether. Let's just put Elemental Hit in here. It does a huge amount of flat damage. Also does synergize with increased levels to skill gems, although with the changes to the flat rolls on bows, it does end up being better. I checked it in Path of Building. The high flat, tier 1, tier 2 flat elemental rolls is better than additional arrows, or rather additional levels of skill gem. People were asking about Replica Dragonfang. Nope, terribly inferior. So while it does scale decently off of gem levels to its flat damage rolls, not quite good enough. So this gem does have some issues of scaling. It's kind of it has an identity crisis in terms of how to scale it. There are multiple ways to scale the gem. All of them are kind of inferior to, say, Lightning Arrow, for example. But it's still a very strong gem, and it's going to fix some of the problems I have with stunning enemies and chilling. So let's see what happens now with Elemental Hit. Still running the same gem links I was otherwise doing. Oh yeah, I should put Trinity back in. Still running with, return projectiles, that whole setup here. That would be the wrong one. There we go. Okay, here we go. You can see Elemental Hit going out there. Got some rage. Got some rage. Got some reverse chill. Getting more rage. Getting some reverse chill. Wow. Still clears pretty well, I think. Can it do a boss? Not on consecrated ground, it can't. It can do a boss, it just takes a little while. Oh, an invulnerability shrine. Wow. This map's really wanting to get the best of me. Anyway, you can see the rage is kicking in. Berserk is on some of the time. And I'm still chilling. You can see the chills are going off. Enemies are being destroyed. Enemies are indeed being chilled. The Herald of Ice is going off. Feels pretty good. And this one has kind of a distinct advantage too, because the Herald of Ice is allowing, the Herald of Ice is also getting a lot of freeze in, and the Elemental Hit, again with its identity crisis, scales even another unique way, and that's with more elemental ailments on enemies. It has a more damage multiplier, 15% more damage per elemental ailment already on the enemy. So that's a pretty groovy skill, and it works good enough, I guess. Not bad. And you know what? This is probably good enough, serviceable enough. This works. This isn't bad at all. I think I could be satisfied with this setup, with the damage it did. But we're not done yet. We're not done yet. There's still a few more breakthroughs in here, but we're definitely onto something really great. What I realized, however, is that I could increase the uptime or the efficacy of my rage if I did this. If I remove one inspired learning and gave myself a combat focus, which by the way can receive corrupted blood immunity pretty easily, and I turn off the cold damage. And that's okay, because I still chill everything. Even the fire damage and lightning damage still chills. And if I chill, that means I destroy with the Herald of Ice. And if I'm destroying the enemies with Herald of Ice, that means it's going off. And it's going to freeze enemies nearby, which means I'm still getting, you know, the nice chill and freeze fairly reliably, granting me all the benefits of elemental hit with, again, 15% more damage per elemental ailment on the enemy. Pretty nice. So let's see what this looks like. This should give me even more reliable rage, but at the cost of one less inspired learning. May or may not be worth it. You can be the judge. This is going to start looking a lot like the Secrets of Suffering setup that I had a little bit ago. Maybe I'll do one of these. Okay, now I'm only doing lightning and fire damage now, no cold. Which means an expedition like that could be a little bit dangerous, where they're immune to fire damage. I don't know, let's see. Seems alright. Still able to get things done. Maybe if I take some headhunter buffs in, I can actually kill a boss. Oh yeah, can easily kill the boss. Wow, 99 rampage. Hey, save the rampage. So there you go. This feels pretty good, right? I'll even do another Legion because, I mean, we're now getting to the point where it actually feels really fun. This much movement speed, this much reliable rage. Again, I don't get rage from mobs in stasis because it can't actually stun mobs in stasis. But the second this Legion releases, the rage will just go... There it is, right there. All the rage in the world. Reverse chill, just flying through this. Enormous heralds of ice. Explosions. Everything's chilled. Everything's frozen. Everything's shocked. You can see the shock values on the enemies. Maybe you would be able to see it, rewind it. See that boss kill. Pretty nice, right? It's starting to look really nice. But we're still not done. Still not quite done. Almost. A couple more maps to run. This time, I figured that I would attempt to do this, but then put lightning arrow back in and then rely only on elemental hits 6-link mana forge setup as a means to stun enemies. Let's see how that goes over. So we get lightning arrow back in the build, and this will kind of give you a sense of, you know, how good elemental hit is versus lightning arrow. And what I'm looking for here is the rage. I'm paying very close attention. You know, basically this is pretty much a grand story of rage, Warlord's Mark stun procs, and how that whole thing works. So again, mobs in stasis cannot be stunned, so it's a little hard to get the rage during breaking out a Legion. But here we go. Legion's now open, and not getting too much rage, am I? Let me do a little bit more to clear, see if I can proc some more rage. There's a little bit more. Well, it's certainly better than, you know, the very first map that I ran, obviously, right? But you can see, you know, we kind of need, there's a little more, we kind of need that primary skill gem to do most of the stunning. That's the one that hits really hard anyway. It's halfway decent, Anyway, an interesting little test, a little bit of a setback there. Wanted to see how that worked out, and yeah, you can see a little bit better. All right, so basically just got one more setup left to do. And that is going to be back to this. And also a weapon swap. I realized, no, why should I have to try and craft a weapon that is, you know, could be actually be pretty difficult to craft potentially, depending on if there are any in trade. Why not just craft my own without cold damage and do a metamod craft here? It's nice, simple, and easy. It's very easy to make this weapon a tier 2 fracture with tier 0 essences until I hit a high attack speed roll, get the annul, basically done. Pure fire and lightning, fully embracing the fire and lightning setup, understanding that, yeah, I'm not going to get any usage out of the cold damage here except for the frenzy, I guess. Should work out pretty well. And this is basically the final version of the build. Actually, no. Hold on. I'll show you one more thing. Show you one more thing before we go in. One very last thing that came up that surprised me pretty well, especially if I can metamod the strength and intelligence in there. And I no longer need resourcefulness. It does technically put me 3 points below the spell press cap. I can even, you might have noticed that my health is spiking quite a bit, even with 30 chaos res from the Forbidden Rite. But if I do this, and we fully embrace the Ghost Dance setup with the Energy Shield Mastery, I'm not 100% sold on this, but you're going to see I take a lot less damage, still take enough damage for the chills. You might be thinking Forbidden Rite of Sacrifice would work well here, but it never reaches a 30% chill threshold. But here, my damage or my health does not spike much at all. And instead, the Energy Shield takes some of the hits from the Forbidden Rite proccing. And then Ghost Dance puts it right back up again. Works out pretty nicely. And, you know, if you have gear like this where it's hybrid Energy Shield and evasion, turns out pretty nice. Okay, I was a little concerned that I wasn't seeing much rage for a second, but there it is. Got some nice rage. And even single target here in this boss. Not too awful bad. Could be a little better, but again, it's a blaster, it's not a bosser, so there you go. Alright, so this is kind of the final form of the build for now. Not exactly sure whether I like the Energy Shield Mastery or not. I do kind of like not seeing my health, you know, constantly going up and down that way. And over 4,000 life now is pretty good. So there you go, guys. That is it. Finishing the build. There's still a lot of things I didn't talk about with the build, such as, you know, cast and damage taken, wave of conviction, working in there, weaving that in there as well. I've even used tornado setups. You can use a chain setup instead of return projectiles. You can make this function as a tornado shot. Basically do elemental hit as you would a tornado shot build with chain and no pierce, and still works out really nice. A lot of different variations I tried that I didn't even talk about here. But, you know, if you want to see those, you got to watch live, I guess. So, that's sort of the quick and dirty on everything that's been going on the past week. Different evolutions of the build. Trying out different gems, different jewels, different setups, different weapons. Again, exploring plus level of gems. Seeing how that scaled, not quite as well. But I think we're on to something pretty good here. And I definitely see reverse chill elemental hit in my future for the next league. I want to know if that entices you in any way, shape, or form. Let me know in the comment section below. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.